everyone! If you're new here, my name is Crystal, also known as the Book Gypsy, and today I'm going to be wrapping up my December reads. A decent reading month in December. I felt like I kept picking up books and just like starting them but not finishing them. So I was having a tough time because of the holidays, really. I was just so busy and I just couldn't focus on reading. But the stack of books that I have here is a decent amount. I want to say it's about, I read 6 books. Some of them are not so long. One of them is over 700 pages, so it's kind of like, I guess I did have a successful reading month. But anywho, so let's just get into what I've read in no particular order. First, I finished Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This was actually part of my Witchathon TBR as well, and I really enjoyed it. This is my favorite Harry Potter book, as most of you guys know if you've been watching my channel. So it was a pleasure to read this during the holiday time, during Christmas. I just really enjoyed reading this book, rereading this book, and just being in the world of Harry Potter. Luckily for my birthday this year, my boyfriend bought me a trip to go to Universal and go to Hogwarts, so I'm so excited. We're going in January. Well, in next week we're leaving on the 11th, so I'm so excited. And of course, this was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. The next book that I read was also a 5-star read, and that is The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. This book took me by surprise. I did not expect to love it as much as I did, and the powerfulness of this story, I was not expecting this in this little tiny book. There's some heavy content in this book, totally unexpected, like I just said, but holy cow, like if you've never read this book before, I highly recommend reading it. It's very heartwarming. There are sad parts, but I feel like most people should read this book. I think everyone should read this book. It was so good, and it's so short, so you could finish it rather quickly. It does take place in Alaska, and that is like a reason why I did pick it up, because I enjoy so much reading books about Alaska. I'm so curious about Alaska. I've never been to Alaska. I would love to go. Probably not in the winter months, but I've always been very curious about Alaska. This is like an in-depth look into the lives of people that live in Alaska when Alaska became a state in the 1960s, I want to say, and it kind of leads on there and time goes on, but it's a really interesting book about 4 people and how they're interconnected. So if you are looking for like a cozy winter read that might make you cry a little bit, I highly recommend The Smell of Other People's Houses. It was an amazing read for me. Next up, which you guys have heard me talk about this book probably numerous times, and that is Nosferatu by Joe Hill. This is a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved reading this book. This is the perfect Christmas book for horror fans. I am a huge fan of Joe Hill now. I just want to read everything that he's written recently and in the past. I want more from him, and I feel like every book that I pick up now is just not comparable to what I've read in this book. So if you are looking for a Joe Hill book and you are new to reading his books or Stephen King books, I highly recommend you pick this up first, because it was a really good story. From start to finish, it was excellent. The next book I read, and I enjoyed it, I just had a tough time reading it, and that was The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. I read this for Witchathon, and it was the group book, and it was enjoyable, and the atmosphere was gorgeous. The atmosphere in this book was stunning. The only problem I had with this book were the pronunciations of the names. I have a tough time getting fully absorbed into a story if I can't pronounce the characters' names, and I kind of get confused with who's who. And also I don't want to say battle, but like it was such a back and forth between like Christianity and paganism and the religious aspect. There was a lot of that, and it kind of got a little boring and a little slow. I wanted a little bit more magic. It took a very long time to get to that point, so I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars because I wasn't not entertained by this book. it just didn't click with me, and I really wanted it to because it is the first book in a series and the third book is coming out actually this month. So I was hoping that I would find a new series to be involved with, and it's an adult series, so I was really excited, but I don't know if I'm gonna pick up the second book yet. It was just okay. And the next book that I finished is In an Absent Dream by Seanan Mcguire, and I was not impressed. I loved every single book in this series that has come out, and each one I loved a little bit more as I read them. And this is Lundy's story, so this is the fourth book in a series, so I don't want to spoil too much for you if you have not read the series yet, because it is an amazing series and I think everyone should pick it up. I just felt like this book didn't have as much as the other ones did in the fantasy world. It was a lot more about being in this world and not in the fantasy world of going through the doorways. This was based on the Goblin Market, which was really cool, and I really enjoyed the world when I was in it, but I just felt like there wasn't enough in this book. But this is an arc, so I'm not exactly sure if things have changed when this book does come out. It is coming out in January, so it's coming out this month, but it was definitely my least favorite in the series so far, unfortunately. I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars because it is one of my favorite series that's out right now, but it just didn't do much for me. And the last book that I read this month was A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe by Alex White, and you all know this is on my top 5 favorites of 2018. I love this book so much. It was a joy to read. It was so exciting. It was so action-packed. If you want to know more, read it yourself. The characters were amazing. This whole world, and I'm semi-new to sci-fi. I've read things in the past like Illuminae and more like YA stuff like that, but I've never really experienced like a sci-fi thriller before, and this was amazing. So if you have not yet, I highly suggest picking this up, especially if you too are new to sci-fi. It is just the perfect book to read to get you into that genre. And this, of course, was a 5 out of 5 stars. So that is it. That is my December wrap-up of all the books that I read and finished in December. I am currently reading 11/22/63 for a constantly reading book club, and I am loving it. I am halfway through, and I'm hoping to get done with it by next week because the Whodunit-a-thon starts next week. At the moment, I'm not really reading much else. I just want to really absorb myself into 11/22/63, which I am so enjoying. So if you guys have read any of these books, if you are interested in reading any of these books, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to discuss it with you. And on that note, I will be talking to you guys soon. Bye!